one thing we talk about all day long, you've heard us say this, is be the builder of choice. How do you do that? Well, you have to be great. You have to be great every day. You have to have great people. You have to do things the right way. You have to build quality homes. You have to run a quality job. You have to have the scheduling that lays itself out to where a vendor can come in and make money on your job.
So welcome to the AFT Construction Podcast. Very excited today to have Ryan Lipchek on. Welcome, Ryan.
Hey, Brad. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we go back a little bit, a few years now, more than a few years. And so I'm grateful to have you on, Ryan.
When did we meet? Probably, I would bet you 8 or 9 years ago. You were just fresh into your company, and before you were Brad Leavitt, you were just getting rolling, man. So it's been an honor to see the progression in your company and have the friendship that we do, Brad.
Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate. So Ryan is the VP of Sales for CBUSA, which I know we'll dive into, and newly acquired. Well, not newly. I mean, it's been a little while now from Builder Trim, but I think to give a little context of our relationship, I always speak about mentors, and one of my good mentors here in town is Rod Collum, who, that's kind of our connection. You've known Rod for for a very long time, Ryan, and fortunately, I was invited to the CBUSA program. We met and connected, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, I met Rod Collum probably 15 years ago, 16 years ago, somewhere in there. Very impressed with what he's accomplished in the Phoenix Scottsdale market as a industry leading custom builder that did things differently than most builders. And it was a great relationship. And through that relationship, as is the case with CBUSA all over the place, one relationship leads to another one. And we were blessed that one led to meeting you and several other great builders in the market there. So we're fortunate to be around great people, and that's what we do.
So maybe let's talk about CBUSA a little bit, because those listeners are probably like, what is CBUSA? And maybe speak about how you even came into this market. I know CBUSA has had a footprint back east for quite some time, and you've the expansion's been pretty impressive the last couple of years.
Yeah, 2004 started the company. Bill Smithers was the founder in the Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia area. And what happened was they took builders that had already been working together for 7 or 8 years, 20 good-sized custom builders in the D.C., Northern Virginia market that were doing it on spreadsheets, and realized they had the foresight to say, if we band together and meet once in a while and talk about who we buy from and what we buy materials wise, can we get better pricing? Can we get more efficiency in our business? Can we do all these things? And they found that, yes, everything good came from great builders banding together. It was very simple. And then those guys had such success with it that through their Builder 20 clubs through NAHB all around the United States, all the guys in their groups, Cleveland and Austin and all over the United States, Raleigh, started saying, hey, what are y'all doing in Northern Virginia? I want to do it in my market. Teach me how to do it. So Bill stepped away from his building company and rolled it out and said, hey, let's teach other builders how to have the success that we've had in Northern Virginia. So in 2004, CBUSA was born and took off like wildfire. Obviously, 08, 9, 10, there was some hiccups along the way as everybody had, but current state now, we're in 35 markets around the country. The new numbers just came out, Brad, June 1st, which talks about 2022 numbers. So currently CBUSA does close to 15,000 homes a year aggregately among 760 of the best builders in the United States in 35 markets. We do $10 billion in annual revenue, which puts us as the 5th largest residential builder in the country. So we've had quite a lot of growth over the last close to 20 years. And it all starts with getting great builders together that have forward-thinking views that say, hey, you know what? We're stronger together. High tide raises all ships. We band them together with great local vendors, suppliers, distribution, manufacturers that all come down through that distribution. You put all things together and it's a win-win-win for everybody. And we've been very blessed over the last 20 years to assemble an industry-leading network in the building industry.
Well, it's interesting how you bring this up, because I think there's a couple parts of this. One is better pricing. I think all of us are looking for, group purchase. And as you mentioned, collectively, I mean, one of the challenges in construction is without naming some of the big national builders, and essentially that's who you're competing with. And so these big national builders and the boards they have in relationships with vendors, they can make sure that they're positioned to have supply chain. They can make sure that they're
Yeah,
positioned for good pricing for their homes because of the bulk purchase.
that's right.
What's hard as a custom builder, you look at my team, for example, I mean, we're doing 10 to 20 projects a year. And so, yeah, some of them are pretty neat projects, but on a big scale for some of these vendors, it's not a huge footprint. Whereas if you put together, as you mentioned, 750 builders, well, now you put together over, what is it you mentioned? You said
Yeah,
10 billion purchasing power.
yeah,
That changes it. That changes your ability not only to negotiate
yeah,
pricing, but I think a big thing that most people don't realize with CBUSA is the access to product too. We dealt with COVID, and I'm sure you could speak on this, Ryan, that we saw pricing fluctuations. And I know you and your team worked hard to really, lock pricing for us, which was a huge
right.
advantage.
Yeah, well, I mean that's spot on, Brad. I mean, since I've been in the business 26 years. It's all I've ever done right out of college. Big national builder background. Been with CBUSA for 17 years now. And it changes. It's interesting what builders go through. It is a very, very difficult industry to build homes. And it changes what's most difficult about it over the cyclicality of our industry. Sometimes the hardest thing is to get product. Sometimes the hardest thing is to get good quality labor. Um, COVID, like you just mentioned, um, people that have been in the industry a lot longer than I have never seen anything like the supply chain issues that arose with COVID. So how do you navigate that in your building company? And we talk to builders all day long across the country about that, and how do you corral your material purchasing to the point where you're running very efficiently. And no matter what happens in the industry, are interest rates high, is labor hard to get, all these different things that we wake up in the morning as builders challenged about, we try to help you with. And we say, okay, if we assemble this great network, how do we teach builders how to take advantage of this network? It comes through local distribution, great local distribution, great suppliers that count on us. We count on them. We're the biggest builder, one of the biggest builders in every market that we're in. So it starts with that, Brad. It starts with 35 markets around the country, anywhere from 15 to 40 builders in each of our markets. We're together in that local market. They're one of the top 5 builders. So now all of a sudden you have instant credibility. You swing a bigger stick. You're able to put yourself in a different bucket, a different tier. So when there's only so many widgets being made, who gets them? And that's all about allocation. Allocation is a word that nobody even knew what it meant or figured it would never hit us. But allocation came into effect the last couple of years because there's only so much stuff being made. So how do we position ourselves as a local building company to get the best pricing, be able to have the best labor, access to products, the best products? And that's where you're really winning, because a price by itself doesn't do anybody any good. We talk to builders all the time and they're like, well, yeah, but I love quality. I need service. Heck yeah, we all do. So that's a given. But can we streamline what we buy, who we buy it from, to put ourselves in the best position every day to make it easy on our companies to do business? And that's really what we do. And, looking over the headlights, I guess, as a building company, over the last couple of years, you've had to do that more than ever. You start a house and you're like, okay, well, I can't get windows for 18 weeks. Well, I can't get them for 18 weeks. I'm used to getting them in 3 or 4 weeks all the time. Appliances, garage doors, all the different challenges that we've had. A 2x4 that used to cost, $4 now costs $20. A piece of OSB that cost, $12, now it's $100. It's like, how to wrap your hands all around this. And it's just about being efficient, being consistent with your approach.
It's interesting, the allocation. Being at the builder show this last year was interesting with the market changing. And we kind of know that, nationally for remodelers, custom builders, I mean, the market's been pretty steady still despite interest rates. Production builders has taken a little bit more of a hit, depending on where you're at in the market, which is understandable based on, pricing and entry point. But what's interesting, when I was there networking at the builder show, all these vendors and suppliers were saying that some of these big national builders, they weren't worried about price increases. They weren't worried about holding prices. They were worried about allocation. They're worried about access to product moving forward. And I thought that was really interesting because you bring this up, Ryan, with the allocation aspect is that, this goes back. I remember in high school, I ran cross country and track, and I remember my coach would always say, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And his take wasn't, from like a who you know basis, is more like building relationships, right? As you build relationships, there's value. And like CBUSA, Ryan, from your aspect, I mean, you and your team, you're meeting with executives. It's one thing for some of us builders to maybe have a couple contacts from the supplier industry, maybe people we've met at different shows or opportunities, speaking engagements, whatever it may be. But for the most part, most of us don't have access to all these different vendors, and it's allocation, it's
Yeah.
product. And so this we've been speaking of, the value of that relationship is that there are commitments that have product and have priority, when you need certain, building materials.
Yeah, when when you are the top five, fifth biggest builder in the United States, that comes with a lot of cool stuff, and the relationships that we have with all of our top manufacturers around the country, the Kohlers, the Andersons, the DuPonts, the Weyerhaeusers, the James Hardys, the list goes on and on. But we know all their top people. We have great relationships. We're one of their biggest customers in the United States, if not their biggest customer. So that gives us an advantage to where any of our builders need anything or have any issues. We don't solve all problems for everybody, but we put ourselves in a really good position where something that used to take 15 or 5 weeks, then it goes up to 15 weeks. We curbed that all through COVID because of those relationships. And maybe our ability to get product went up a little bit, but not like everybody else in the United States. And that's what it's all about, positioning our network of builders to have a position of strength over everybody else that's not included in the biggest construction purchasing group in the country. And we've been blessed to have great builders, and that's where it all starts. It all starts with great forward-thinking builders that do things the right way. And one thing we talk about all day long, you've heard us say this, is, be the builder of choice. And how do you do that? Well, you have to be great. You have to be great every day. You have to have great people. You have to do things the right way. You have to build quality homes. You have to run a quality job. You have to have the scheduling that lays itself out to where a vendor can come in and make money on your job. And he wants to work for you because he's got a lot of options now. That vendor, they have a million people that they could go work for and not enough time to do it. That's the labor crunch that we're all in. So how do you survive that labor crunch, and not only survive, but thrive? Well, you be the builder of choice. And that comes from having a great operation. And if you don't, those suppliers, those vendors are going to go work on other builders' jobs that are organized, that are efficient. And 2.5 years ago, Brad, we got acquired by Builder Trend, and they're out of Omaha, Nebraska. You're a Builder Trend user. You're a spokesman for Builder Trend. You're a big believer in it, and that's what a Builder Trend is all about: construction management software that gives the builder the ability to be the most efficient builder in the market, be the builder of choice, run their construction operation as efficiently as possible. And we were blessed to be acquired by that company 2.5 years ago. And now we're the purchasing arm. We're CBUSA, a Builder Trend company, and we're very proud of our parent organization.
Yeah, and I want to dive into that because I think there's a lot of value Builder Trend that we'll table that for a second. But what's interesting is you mentioned the vetting aspect and recruiting some of the best builders, which is a little bit of a daunting task. I mean, to have 760 builders and to vet those. What's interesting, Ryan, is my experience with the group, especially being, at Power 30, which we could talk about and kind of benefit of what that conference is each year. But in all these markets, I talk to builders and they're like, yeah, the best builders in our market are in CBUSA. What do you credit to the ability to vet or, bring people in, builders into the group? I mean, how have you done that successfully, which is really hard to do on a national level over the past 15 years?
So that's a great question. So I'll tell you this: I'm VP of sales, and a lot of VP of sales think one way. They think, well, anybody that's got money, let's go. I want to sign you up. Let's go. CBUSA is a little bit different. We can't take anybody and everybody. We know the key to our success is getting the best builders in the United States as a part of our group, which leads to vetting builders. There's 20,000 builders in the country. We have 760 of them. We could have a lot more than that. But people that want to join our network, a lot of times are not the type of builders that we're looking for. We're looking for longevity as a building company. You can't just start up a building company because you don't have the track record yet where you could see an established history of paying on time. That's huge. A lot of builders do not pay on time. That's a fact. We all know it. Where they're in a situation where they're using their suppliers as the bank in some cases, where that's not how you be the builder of choice. So we know that we have to get the best, and they have to be at building X amount of homes a year, whether it's a few customs a year or at very high dollars, or 10 to 20 custom homes a year at phenomenal dollars like you, or builders that are doing 50 to 100 at a little bit lesser price, or 100 to 250 homes. That's about where we thrive. You start getting over 300 homes, and we have a couple builders that do that, but they have a robust purchasing department. We're really in play for the builders that have a smaller purchasing department, doing under a few hundred homes a year. And that's where we come in. But vetting is a huge thing. If we start letting builders in that aren't going to respect our confidentiality, that's a huge thing too, Brad. As you know, when we're dealing with all these manufacturers, they're rolling out great programs, value packages, model home discounts, rebates, pricing, marketing, all different types of things where we partner with these manufacturers, we partner with suppliers, and they are rolling out great programs for our builders, but they're not for everybody else. So we need builders to maintain confidentiality, maintain integrity at all times, pay their bills on time, and that's what we're looking for. So we spend a lot of time. Referrals are important. When a guy like Rod Cullum or Chad Magleby in Utah, or the Homes by Dickerson guys in Raleigh, or all of our great builders around the country, when they tell us, hey, this builder is a quality builder, that goes a long way. So referrals are a huge part of our business and how we've grown a lot over the years.
I do love that aspect, the referral side. And the reason I say that is because I know Rod specifically, and Mag will be the same. Some of these builders, it just goes back to like a mentality thing, the mentality of abundance as opposed to scarcity, where and I just know this in speaking with Rod here locally, is that he views it, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of opportunity for a lot of people. He can't service every client in town. He wants to make sure that there's a lot of good builders that he's networking with and that are going to perform. And, as contractors, as we become more savvy and understand technology and understand scheduling, the design relationship with our vendors, it creates efficiencies in the marketplace. The problem with construction is it's one of the most least efficient industries. I swear we're like a dinosaur industry still to this day. How slow we are with technology and integration and panelization, whatever it may be. And so by doing that, that network is huge. And I can imagine for you on the vetting side, when, as you mentioned, people that pay on time, there is a certain revenue and quantity aspect, but the confidentiality, the referrals are huge. As you look at just the power of networking, how has that grown the brand, right? How have you seen that, especially now? It's like exponential growth, especially lately.
I mean, it's everything. The builders that say they love CBUSA and love working together are that's what spreads the word for us. And if you look back through our industry, you brought up a couple of things there. I mean, one is historically builders have been what we call the lone wolf mentality. They've been doing it for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 3 generations, whatever it is. And they do it one way, and they lock themselves in their office and they say, hey, it's me against the world. In every industry, I guess, but in building more so than most, we're very lone wolf mentality. So now the new generation of builders is really more forward thinking, realizing that high tide raises all ships, and networking is very important. And if I can rub elbows with other great builders in my market, everybody's going to get better. We're going to exchange things about labor, about the way we build, about certain municipalities that require certain things. I mean, the networking is we always say people come to the CBUSA for savings and rebates and profitability and all that, but really they latch on to, and that all comes and that's all great, but they latch on to the networking, because what we end up with is the best builders in every market. We have opportunities for those markets to intermingle with other markets through things like Power 30 conference, which we may touch on. But That's really what gets builders. When we survey our builders, they always say, "Hey, you know what? We're making a lot of money from CBUSA, and we love it. But the networking is the thing that surprised us the most. Where builders are genuinely wanting to help each other get better, because, like you said, if you have a great group of builders and that group succeeds, then you succeed. It's not you against them. There's plenty to go around for everybody." And we've noticed that over the years, that's very important aspect of what we do. And even if you're not in a CBUSA market, go find other builders in your market. That's a takeaway from this. That go pair up with 2 or 3 or 4 other builders. Go to breakfast once a week, once a month, once a whatever. Talk about what you're buying, what you're paying, what your challenges are, what your successes are. Iron sharpens iron, and builders that do that, again, even if it's not CBUSA, or if you're not in the market or not interested in a purchasing group, go do that, and I guarantee you'll find instant results that'll make you a better company.
It's interesting, Ryan, you say that, because I've seen in my career just the benefit of that. And, I look at it this way. Fortunately, I'm part of a Builder 20. You mentioned that earlier, and I've spoke about that on the podcast before. So Builder 20 has been huge for my business, just really getting into the nitty gritty details and like bettering everything we're doing each and every day. CBUSA, right? These, Power 30, which we'll dive into. This is a conference, and my local CBUSA chapters. So these are builders that very esteemed here in town that provide a ton of value, right? They're not going to share financials like my Builder 20 does, but there's going to be other benefit. And then the Builder Show, and then, something you attended, the Contractors Coalition Summit. And so there's these different avenues where we can build our business. And then social media in itself, social media is an opportunity to meet just in general. If you're not part of any of these groups, you can network with other builders around the country. And it's kind of revolutionized this. You personally, Ryan, I think you have a very unique ability to build relationships with people, to network. I know sales is a huge part, but there's an authenticity to you because I've known you for a long time, which is really rare. And that's why people gravitate to you. What do you attribute just your background in sales and communication, networking, nuggets there that make you successful at what you do, especially being the VP of sales, that all of us could apply in our own business, no matter if we're design, architecture, or builders?
Well, I appreciate that. That's kind. And you and I have known each other a long time, and I consider you a great friend and mentor in a lot of ways. I think we mentor each other, and we learn a lot from everybody that we're around. And the one thing I personally worked on over the years is 26 years in building. And that's really what I know. But I come from a sales background with a national builder, and I think the key is listening. I think listening is something that I work on all the time. We work on at CBUSA. If you listen and really seek to understand when you listen. Don't just listen to think about the next thing you're going to say, or the next thing you're going to sell, or the next thing you're going to do, or whatever. Listen with the intent of understanding what their pain points are, and understanding how what you have is going to help them succeed in their business and in their life. And I think when you do that, you put yourself in a position to really do it. But there's books, there's classes. That's not easy. You could say, yeah, I'm going to listen. I'm going to be a listener. I'm going to be a great listener. But it's an acquired skill, and I'm still trying to acquire it and master it. But when I do that, I see that everything kind of falls into place, and you understand where they're coming from. You understand the pain points of whether you're selling a home to somebody and you're trying to figure out what home is best for them, or do they want to build with AFT, or do they want to join CBUSA? You got to dive into their soul and figure out, what makes you tick, what keeps you up at night. And when you find what's keeping somebody up at night, then you put yourself in a position to solve and help them sleep better, help them run their business better, help them do all those things. So that's a big takeaway for me over my career, that with the intent to help and understand before you seek to solve too quick. And once you do that, put yourself in a position to solve the right things, help that customer, and move forward.
And I think if I can add on to that, what's interesting, Ryan, just having known you, I will say the reason I say that you're really good at what you do is because I know your network is immense. I mean, you travel a lot. You're dealing with builders. I mean, just alone, we mentioned just those in the network are 760, but you're vetting builders all over the country. Not only do you listen, but I think a huge part of that is remembering. And what I mean by that is, I'm always surprised when I'm around you because we're only together, what, a couple times a year, probably
Yeah.
in person. And you remember details of me personally or my business or family or whatever. And I think that that's something that's really hard. A lot of us, we may listen, we may learn that skill, um, but the ability to recall information, remember, and make it personal, right? About personal life and kids and, business and employees. Uh, I think that's a game changer. I think in any sales processes, you can remember that aspect and recall it. Now it shows, okay,
Yeah.
well, Ryan cares, there's something a lot deeper, and it just kind of builds that foundation, in any relationship.
Well, yeah, and we text a lot, you and I too. We don't see each other all that often, but we're always out on the horn texting each other. One thing that I see in you and in the greatest people that I'm around is the passion for life, the passion to listen, understand, solve, have a great product that you believe in, and then you have a passion for life. You're up at 4 o'clock every day playing basketball, and what, you didn't play high school basketball? We got to go back to that. You said you played track and cross country. You didn't play basketball in high school?
No, I guess for what it's worth. So I was 16 my senior year. So I turned 17 when I was a senior. So I was super immature, super tiny, especially as a boy, right in high school. So I started kindergarten when I was 4. So I was a little young. So cross country and track, I was good at
Okay,
that. But
right.
I was a late bloomer, we'll call it. It was really later,
Yeah,
football and
yeah.
basketball started playing a lot when I was
Well,
older. And so just a
well,
late bloomer.
I'm sure your listenership would at some point appreciate some videos of you dunking basketballs and dropping threes and winning city championships like you guys just did at the highest level last month. But I that's it's all good stuff, and I'm glad that the conversation turned to this, because sometimes these things turn to, it's a lot about this and that. Next thing you know, it's over. But diving into what makes people tick and what makes people succeed, I think can help anybody listening to this. And the passion to live, the passion to succeed is something that I've learned a lot from you. And you wake up every day wanting to help people, wanting to run a great company, wanting to do right by everybody that you come across. And I think we both try to do that to the best of our ability, and it's working. There's no shortcut to it. That's the truth.
Man, I wish there was a shortcut, Ryan. I think about that every day. It's just and the funny thing about construction is such a tough business. I think in addition to networking, there's an appreciation, right? Like I have an appreciation for what you do and the battles you fight for us and our team, Ryan. And I've seen that just a plug for like our interior designers and our architects. I mean, it's funny that how challenging this business is on so many levels, on so many layers, even for our suppliers. And there's something to be said about just a little bit of encouragement, empowerment. I think a lot of us just we go through the motions, but it's pretty rare. I've had some good mentors in my life that will take the time just to thank you, and it's not like we have to be this like trophy generation. But I think there is something to be said about gratitude, right? And just showing that for the things that people are doing. And it's a cutthroat business, just any business in general, but construction specifically.
So I guess what it leads to, like, what we talk about profitability, we could talk about numbers, but why do builders get paid good money to do what they do? Because it's very hard. Once in a while, you'll see a homeowner that tries to go build a home themselves or try to figure something out. There's so many facets to our business that we've both been in it a long time, and we're both still learning every day. But all the different challenges that rise up, and to take care of a home, especially the size homes you're building. I mean, it is a multifaceted business where you need to be on top of it. You need to have a great team. You need to have everybody working in sync. And to your point, if you don't have technology working for you, it's very difficult to do that. And you said it earlier, the construction industry is archaic. I mean, there is still fax machines in our business. There is. You go to certain lumber companies around the country. I mean, they are a faxing thing. There's Excel spreadsheets. Like, I saw a really cool thing. I probably shared this with you one time. And I should find it and send it to you. You could pop it out. But there's a thing where a helicopter comes and drops off 1,000 parts for a BMW, and it drops it off piece by piece in the middle of a field, like a mud pit. And it's so ridiculous that that all these workers would go build a BMW out in the rain, out in the snow, out in the elements, because that's just absurd. It's built in a factory and then it's delivered. Well, in our industry, we don't have that luxury. We're building in 120 degrees. We're building in minus 10 degrees. We're building in the rain, the snow. You have materials, you have theft, you have a million things. You have 30,000 pieces and parts going into a house. You have 600 people on average coming into a house to build it. Like, orchestrating all of that is unbelievably difficult. And I think most people probably that aren't in the industry don't really understand how hard it is to orchestrate all that to get it done, which we could lead that in several ways. But offsite building, offsite technology, the way that homes are being built in Europe and starting to sweep across the country, there's a lot of offsite construction going on where that BMW, if that's built in the factory, a lot of houses are starting to be built more and more in the factory and less outside. Even homes like you're building, the components, we're going to see things. I was talking at your coalition in which we should talk about, which was an awesome event, very, very cool. But one of the things that we were saying there was that in the next 10 years, we're going to see more change in our industry technology-wise than we've seen in the last 200 years. And there's a reason for that, because we're archaic and we need to change with the times, and we're a little bit behind as an industry because it's tough, because it's different than most industries.
I'm glad you brought that up. What's interesting is, and this goes back to the Power 30, that we should touch on what that event is and how you put that together. But
yeah.
It was my first Power 30 I attended. You invited me because you guys were actually in Scottsdale. So it was the first one I went to, and it's in my backyard. And I remember sitting in there, and as much as, we've tried to be at the forefront of technology and innovation, and, we're fortunate to do Mark Law Liberte's house, Net Zero House, and some pretty neat projects in town. I remember thinking that, hey, some of these complex projects we're building, well, this isn't going to work in panelization. And I remember you guys had a speaker, and he said, look, you could build a castle, essentially, is what he was instructing, that it doesn't matter if the house is 25,000 square feet or 1,000, how complicated it can be built and planned and shipped out. Because, as you mentioned, the analogy he gave, he's all, do you have someone just ship a bunch of parts for your television and build it in your front yard and then bring it in the house? There's so much that instead of, 3 months of framing and, 20 dumpsters, he's all, you could have 1 5-gallon bucket and everything's delivered and you're up in, a week. And it kind of changed my I don't want to say understand now. It's like, okay, well, now we need manufacturers and, the back end side here in the States like they have in Europe. So we're getting there. But Power 30 is valuable, not just from understanding technology on the horizon, but also you guys do a really good job bringing speakers about the industry. When Charlotte, I remember your speaker said, you're going to see lumber hikes like you've never seen. And that was pre-COVID, and then COVID hit and it went even crazier, but they were on it. And so they've done a really good job just helping us track our business so we can plan for the future.
Yeah, for sure. If you say lumber is going to go up, eventually you're going to be right. And he was right pretty quick there. It sure did go up. But, before we touch on Power 30, it's like, to wrap up the offsite thing, how do you solve the labor crunch? And, as consultants in this industry for a long time, labor's been a big thing for us. So for everybody, how do you challenge? It's not, everyone's aging out of the labor force. A lot of trades are, a lot of young kids are not going into the trades right now. People are aging out of the labor force. How do you do? One way to do that, one big way to do that, is through offsite building. And you need less and less trades, you need less and less people, and then those people are never going to be pushed out of the industry. But when you got less to deal with, it just makes sense, because again, you could take a frame job, and they showed us that a 15-week frame job, and you're in and out in 2 weeks, and it's just the same type of quality. So those are the type of changes we're going to see a lot. So our Power 30 conference that you brought up, we talked about the importance of networking, and a lot of builders across the United States tell us now the three, honestly, and this sounds like a plug, but the three biggest things that are important to their business are Builder Trend, construction management software, aiding every way that they run their business. That's huge. CBUSA, and the way that they are able to leverage their purchasing power. The biggest thing a builder does is purchase materials. How do you get better at that? CBUSA. And the third thing is Builder 20 clubs and the networking and that type of things, the coalitions, the Power 30 conferences, the IBS shows, being able to work on your business and not just in it every day, and being able to spend money and time collaborating and seeing what the industry has is huge. So you do all three of those things, and you're putting yourself in a position of strength above a lot of builders that are not doing those things. And I'm preaching to the choir because you do more of those things than almost anybody. You've seen that early in your career. When you first started your company, you started investing in yourself and your team and your ability to understand. And that's why you've had astronomical success over the last 10 years, because you had the ability to understand that really quickly. But Power 30 is something that we have that connects all of our markets around the country and gives our builders the ability to go once a year to a different location. This year it's in Austin, Texas in September, for any CBUSA builder around the United States that is a fit and wants to take part in it. And those things are really cool. Like you said, great speakers, great collaboration. Just seeing 100 or so of the best building companies in the country hanging out for 3 days, and the conversations that happen separate from the conference, separate from the speakers, separate from all the great stuff that we do and whatever. But just seeing all that take place it's an honor. It's one of our favorite weeks of the year. And to see guys like, the industry's best, to see, Risinger and you and Cullum and Magleby and Showalters and ProBuilt, and just, paint. The list could go on, but to see everybody in one room at one time is like, wow, this industry that we're in is pretty awesome. And we're blessed to be in it. And there's a ton of great people in it. And I learned something from every single conversation at those.
I love that you built it that way, that, the whole purpose of the conference is industry related, right? You mentioned not just the networking, but technology, innovation. You mentioned the offsite and optimization. These are things we're learning about, and manufacturers that are performing that we can align ourselves with. Of course, market studies, based on where the market's trending and what's going to be happening in the next, 12 months as opposed to the next 5 years, what they're projecting. But another aspect that's really unique is you bring a bunch of vendors too. So going back to your relationship, how you were speaking about networking, you have all these vendors there that we can now connect with direct. I know for our business, we've had a lot of success just meeting these vendors that now we have a cell phone, an email, a personal relationship, so that as we need certain product, or maybe even it's one thing just the product, but I've seen where, as you mentioned, building is so complicated. It's easy to say it's an easy thing. You just make a phone call, they come and do it, and they move on. That's not how it works. And the buildings we're building are so much more complicated. And so there is training and lunch and learns. And in fact, this week we have like Stego's coming in to meet with our team. And, we're working with a lot of our vendors, just training on building science and, house wraps. And so what does it take for someone to attend Power 30? If they're listening, they're like, I want to be in Austin in September. Do you limit attendees? How does that work for anyone that maybe want to go? I know you mentioned you'd have to be a CBUSA member.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely be a CBUSA member. So that's a CBUSA member conference. The best of our membership, which is the best of the best in the world, comes and goes. So the first thing is, I think, as a takeaway from this, is contact me. I don't know if you put my info up anywhere.
We will.
Part of this.
You can give it now. I always do it at the end, but you can give it now for those listening, because I give Ryan's cell phone out to everyone, and Ryan's been so gracious. So
you do, and there's videos that come. There's all kinds of stuff that come. Every time you are traveling somewhere with people, I end up getting more CBUSA members, more great members out of it, because of what you go and say, and as a couple months ago, it's like 10 o'clock at night Eastern. I'm sitting on my couch, and all of a sudden my phone blows up with like videos of people and like 15 text messages. And it's like, I was like, all right, Brad must be somewhere. And I love it. But Ryan at cbusa.us is my email. It's all on our website. cbusa.us is our website. We're a builder trend company. And we're excited to get more members and more great members across the country. So if you're in one of our 35 markets, go to cbusa.us, see what 35 markets we're in. Join CBUSA. Get yourself on the list to come to Power 30. That's great. If you're not in a CBUSA market, um, we have a brand new program that's available now that we haven't touched on yet, called Builder Trend Purchasing. And it's something that we are fired up about. Brian Pavlik and I have been working on this for a decade to try to roll CBUSA advantages out to builders that are not in a CBUSA market, or builders that might not be a fit for CBUSA. They might be more on the remodeling side than the new home construction. They may be more on the commercial or multifamily, or they're a little bit smaller than most of our builders, or they're whatever it might be. Now we have a program, Builder Trend Purchasing, that if you're a Builder Trend customer, you can take advantage of this program free of charge. And it's very simple. We are building this up now. It's getting stronger and stronger every week, every month, with more manufacturers involved, which our whole intent is to get the best manufacturers involved and roll a rebate program out where if you convert to that manufacturer, if you use more of that manufacturer product, you're going to put yourself in a position of profitability. But you have to be a Builder Trend customer to do it. So if you're a Builder Trend customer, shoot me a note. We'll get you set up on Builder Trend Purchasing. If you're not a Builder Trend customer, I guess step one is become a Builder Trend customer. They're the biggest. We are the biggest and best construction management software company in the United States. We have 30,000 customers in the country, and into Australia, New Zealand, and some of those areas. But great program, great ability to run your company more efficiently, and then that gets you the ability also to become a part of our rebate program, which is growing and growing every day.
So with the Builder Trend Purchasing, if someone's a member of CBUSA already, should they look at that, or is CBUSA everything there on a higher level?
Yes, exactly. CBUSA customers already have that and more. But if they're not a CBUSA customer, or not a CBUSA market, or not quite a fit for us, if you're questioning whether you're a fit for CBUSA, our core program, or the Builder Trend Purchasing program, contact me. I'll get you to our sales team. We'll figure out which way is the right way for you. If you're not in a CBUSA market, we're growing. We're planting flags all over the United States. I have a team of people working on growth right now as far as planting new flags. And where are we working now? We're working in, we're looking at Minneapolis, we're looking at Kansas City, Des Moines, we're going to Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, Savannah. We're going to Tidewater, Virginia Beach, Columbus, Ohio. So a lot of these markets and more. So if you're in a market, when you go to our website and see, all right, dang it, CBUSA is not in our market yet. Well, look at Builder Trend, look at Builder Trend Purchasing, but look at, hey, I want to start a CBUSA market, and you're not here yet. Let's talk about what it takes. Let's talk about how do we assemble builders? What are steps to start a new market? We're in El Paso, Texas right now. We're ready to launch very soon. That's our brand new market. We're all over Texas, but we've never been as far west as El Paso. I guess it doesn't get any more far west than El Paso, Texas. That's far west as it gets in Texas, but we're excited. So the more flags we plant, the more opportunities we have to service builders, Brad, the more power of our network, and we want to continue to grow. Why stop at 5? Let's become the 4th, the 3rd, the 2nd biggest builder in the United States.
Well, I know that there's no asleep at the wheel at Builder Trend at CBUSA. You guys are moving and shaking. And speaking of El Paso, from my understanding and speaking with you, there's some good boots down there.
Oh, did I wear those? Did I show you those?
No, you were telling me you were giving us a sales pitch on El
man.
Paso, and everyone was giving you a hard time, and you were talking about the boot manufacturing.
Right. That's right. Yeah, that's Lucchese and Tony Lama, capital of the world. That's where they manufacture the 2 biggest boots in the country. I never had a pair of cowboy boots, but bought my first ones, good ones. I'm excited. I hope they last my whole life now. But I'm a cowboy boot guy now. You kind of got to when you go to El Paso. So next time I'm out there, I'm wearing them. I'm going to show you.
You actually fit in here in Arizona. You won't be too far off base either. So
right.
You can get away with it here. Going back to the Builder Trend Purchasing, what's interesting is that I think this is what's really valuable. I know when Builder Trend acquired Co-Construct, and I remember in speaking with Dan Houghton about this, and he's like, there's this gem in the attic, the CBUSA, that we're like, what's this? And then all of a sudden now with Builder Trend and CBUSA, as you mentioned, I mean, I know we were top 10 when I joined, and you
Yeah.
could correct me, Ryan, but we had to have been like eighth, ninth, or 10th, biggest builder. Now we're fifth. So you
Yeah.
just think about the value, and you mentioned the local distribution. I think what's unique about CBUSA, depending on the market you're in, for those listening, is it's one thing as you speak to like Kohler and Renai and Anderson and Lennox and some of these national accounts, right? James Hardy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That yeah, a lot of us are using that product, so there's huge bang for the buck. But locally, there's vendors, there's rebates, there's supply chain, there's labor force, there's things
Uh,
that service each of the local chapters. How does that break down
yeah.
nationally and locally for those in the different
Yeah.
markets?
That's a great point. I'm glad we're touching on it. So when people think of a purchasing group, and I'll say that GPOs, group purchasing organizations, that's what we are. They've been around for a long time in every industry. You look at hospitals, you look at restaurants, you look at office supply, you look at all different types of things. Most of our lumber suppliers that are not the big behemoths, most of our people that are selling anything, drywall, roofing, whatever, they're usually part of a GPO of some sort because it makes sense. If you're buying something, you should buy it with other people that are buying similar materials. Like people wrap their hands around that. Construction industry has been slow to do it. We're the only people that do it on a national level. There's a few other people that do it on a smaller level, but we're the only people that do it nationally, and it's exciting. But we've learned early on that after doing this 20 years, we learned early, Brad, that if you try to make this all about the builders, squeezing the vendors, when people think purchasing organization, we go into a new market, vendors kind of think, uh-oh, here comes a purchasing group, and they're just going to squeeze me, and they're going to get lower and lower. It's a race to the bottom, and everybody loses. Well, that's not the way to set up a sustainable group. The right way to do it is get great builders, surround them with the best vendors and suppliers in a market, create a win-win situation where we are being the best builders. We're allowing them to come onto our job sites and produce, make money, excel, be great at what they do. We give them more business. We give the best of the best vendors and suppliers more business from builders that are going to pay them on time, that are going to have job sites ready for them, and they're going to succeed. Where those vendors and suppliers, they want to work with CBUSA builders more than they want to work with everybody around that's not a CBUSA builder. That's a win-win, and that's the lifeblood of our company. The only way we excel is to have the Fergusons of the world, the Beacons, the L&W. Just it goes on and on as far as all the different. We have 1,400 vendors and suppliers around the United States, and then you marry that up. The final step is with the manufacturers, and we have over 30 of the best manufacturers involved in our program. Now you have everybody involved. The only way you can be an efficient purchaser of materials in the United States is to have a relationship with everybody in there. And we facilitate that. And it takes a long time and it takes a lot of hard work. But if you don't have a relationship with a manufacturer, you're limited to just whatever that local supplier can buy at their negotiated rates with their manufacturers. But if you start at the top and you run it down through their best suppliers, and then it comes to us, because us as builders, a lot of times we're not buying from manufacturers. We're buying from the local distribution points around the country that sell the manufacturer goods. So we learned early on, though, that if you try to make it good for one and not the other, it's going to be short-lived. We want everybody to win, everybody to be profitable, everybody to have consistent, fair pricing and value. And it was good for us, and it's good for the manufacturers, and it's good for the middleman, the whole distribution network. Then it's going to last, and it's going to be meaningful, and it's going to be reputable, and it's going to be something that we could be proud of, that builders are proud of. You get great pricing, but you get great quality, great service. So if anybody that's trying to understand what we do, that's kind of it in a nutshell. It's not just about squeezing anybody. It's about looking over the headlights, being great customers, letting them know what we're going to buy. I mean, every lumber company in the world loves knowing, hey, I got a great group of builders, and here's what they're going to buy this month, next month, in 6 months. Like, that's powerful information for those suppliers, because now they can go be better purchasers on our behalf. They can take positions on lumber. You know how important that was last year, the last couple of years, Brad, for them to be able to go to the mills and say, hey, I have this builder group, and I know what they're going to buy over the next 6 months or a year. Well, that's powerful. Allows them to go take positions on things that they can never take positions on. So it's not that they're having to sharpen their pencil. It's that they're able to be more efficient buyers on our behalf. So
Well, I love that you took that angle too, Ryan, because I think what's really important, and this goes back to relationship side, it's one angle to say, to beat up a vendor, manufacturer, supplier for pricing, group purchase, whatever. What you guys do, and I know because I get the monthly surveys, but essentially you're really vetting all 760 of us, starts that we have this month, that we have next month through the year. You're getting a good grasp on what we're doing business. Now you flip that for the benefit of if I'm a manufacturer, even a home builder, if I could plan effectively to know my growth and purchasing and what I'm going to be selling in the product and widgets that I'm putting out there,
That's right.
I know how to hire, how to train, how to formulate our business to be efficient. And so essentially what you're doing is it's not just a value thing, it's an efficiency thing because now everyone's planning
That's right.
on as you mentioned, the committed buys. Well, now our manufacturers know what they have to produce, to keep up with supply chain,
Yeah.
the COVID
That's right.
the backlog that we have. And so it's really, in my opinion, alleviated a lot of the stress we've had in building materials. It's funny because clients ask me all the time, like, um, what's your supply chain? And fortunately, some of the builds we have, they're hillside, they're complicated. So I have a little bit more of a leeway. I'm not just like going vertical right away. There's
Mhm.
maybe 6 or 8 months of hillside work. So the reality is I have a little bit of a pipeline there. But the other aspect is because of CBUSA and other relationships, is that we haven't felt the pinch like some of my competitors have, with material supply
Mhm.
chain.
It's exactly right. I mean, it's again like we started. I mean, it's a cyclical industry, and there's always something that we're fighting. And when you're fighting supply, we have to band together and utilize those manufacturer relationships. And the best way to do that is to be great at what we do and add value to those manufacturers. Well, how do you do that? You got to tell them what you're going to buy ahead of time. How do you do that? You have to be forward thinking builders. You have to use Builder Trend. You have to be on a construction management software. You have to be able to predict the future, which is very difficult in our industry. But if we can corral all that, like an Anderson Window, a great partner of ours, if they know exactly, $10 billion company, CBUSA aggregately, if they know exactly, hey, here's the amount of windows that this group is going to buy over the next year, pretty close. And here's the group, here's the amount of that we have. Here's the piece of the pie that us, as Anderson or James Hardy or whoever you want to look at, here's the piece of the pie that we have. Here's the piece of the pie that we don't have. Allows them to really get in a situation where they can get aggressive after the piece of the pie they don't have. They can service the piece of the pie that they do have. They can take positions on all that stuff that put them and us in a position of strength. And again, like a lot of things we've talked about here today, it's not easy. There's no shortcut. It starts with communication. It starts with efficient builders. And, we think over the last 20 years, we've picked up a lot of good ideas about how to run a purchasing group effectively to make it a win-win for everybody. So that's the key.
So I know we're running short on time, Ryan, but I do want to ask you this because it almost seems to me with the Builder Trend acquisition, what have you seen just an accelerated
Yeah.
growth and mindset?
Yeah.
Having Builder Trend as a partner, I know that they don't rest on their laurels. I mean, they're going at it. So,
Oh, yeah.
how has it
Well,
changed just what you're seeing in the future for Builder Trend and CBSA?
yeah, I mean, talk about being blessed with that because we sold to Co-Construct a few years ago, and then several months after that, Builder Trend bought Co-Construct and us. So that was an interesting time in the world. And then we flew out to Omaha, Nebraska, where only been a couple of times. I knew there was a college baseball World Series out there, and I knew it was a pretty cool town. But then we met Dan Houghton, the founder, CEO. We met Steve and Jeff Duggar, the co-founders. We met their top folks, Brian and Bill and I, and we quickly realized that, boy, these guys are brothers. They are cut out of the same stone as we are. These guys are just phenomenal, and they started their business in a garage, and they're all great friends of ours now. And as we've learned about them, they've built their company, they bootstrap things, and then they got private equity. And these guys have just conquered the world through one step at a time, building a great team. And they're constantly trying to improve their product and get views from their users. I mean, it is a constant desire to improve their product daily, to make it as user friendly as possible, And again, they listen to their customers like we talked about. We all try to do that, but Builder Trend does that very well. Listen to the customers, adapt the product, and make it as powerful as they can for them. So we were blessed to say, oh my gosh, okay, we got acquired by a fantastic group of leaders that is focused on the right things, that has the passion, has the drive. Now, how do we fit into that? We quickly found out that they wanted us to they acquired co-construct, and we were there, and they quickly realized what we were and how we could help, and they put all of their efforts behind us. I mean, they support us, they give us whatever we need in order to go out and become bigger and better and drive more purchasing value to our customers every day. So we are very, very pumped about that family that we have joined now over the last 2.5 years. And we have 50 people at CBUSA, and Builder Trend now has I don't even know, 1,300 or something in that range. So to be a division of Builder-Trend now, and have the green light put on everything that we're doing, go plant new markets, go drive more value, go set up more manufacturer meetings, more contracts, run with Builder-Trend purchasing. Again, that was something Brian and I tried to do for 10 years, and it's very difficult. But when you got the power of Builder-Trend behind you, now we're in a position to make all these things happen. And at the end of the day, Brad, I mean, it's not about us and revenue and driving things. It's about, we're all focused on the same thing, and that's customer-centric company, making sure that what we do drives value. When you and all the other builders in CBUSA and all the people that are using Builder-Trend products, when you wake up and go into your office every day, do we help you succeed? Do we help you be a better? Do we add to your bottom line profitability-wise? And if we're doing that, then we're doing our job, and we're doing that. So we're going to continue to do more of it. So great question.
I love it. I can't think of a better way to end that with the comment you made about just the collaboration with Builder-Trend now. So in closing, Ryan, what do you do for fun?
Man, I try to work out, much as I can. I'm getting old. I coach a lot of youth sports. I got a college son down at Ohio University, down in Southern Ohio, a big football, baseball player his whole life. Coached him. Got a daughter that's a senior in high school now, big softball player. Still got a little guy, 12 years old, running a big baseball tournament this weekend, travel baseball. So I love it. That's kind of the way I give back to the community through the youth, trying to make an impact on young people and coach them up, and have a lot of fun in the process myself doing it.
Well, you're awesome, Ryan. I can't thank you enough for making time. So for those that are listening, I know you gave your email earlier, but again, give your email again, and how they can reach out to CBUSA and find you in the future.
Yeah, I mean, our website, thank you, Brett, cbusa.us. Right on the main page there is the membership inquiry for builders, for vendors, for manufacturers. That'll take you to the right folks within our company. That's the best possible thing you could do. It asks you where you're at and what you do, and it funnels you right away. You'll get a email back, call back very quickly. If you want to reach out to me personally and say hello, Ryan at cbusa.us is my email. Love to hear from you. If you're in a market that you want to start, let's go. If you're confused, if you want some advice, some consulting about if we're a fit, if we're not a fit, if what you could do on your own, we're happy to talk to builders all day about what we can do. So, yeah, man, I appreciate you having me, Brad. This was a great hour, and I was looking forward to this for a long time. I know you and we do this on occasion anyway, just talk. So it's nice to do it on camera instead of just on text.
Just behind the scenes. Yeah, behind the scenes. Well, Ryan, you've been amazing. Thanks again, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brad. Have a great day.
If you get value from the show, please support us by giving a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you listen to. And I also have a favor to ask. We've had some incredible guests that come on and share their wisdom, their knowledge about their business. So if you have friends or family members that could benefit from those episodes, please share it with them, as well as any other business owners that you're networking with that could get value from the podcast or certain episodes. Please share those as well. Again, subscribe, make sure you're following. Any questions that you have, topics. We've had listeners reach out about certain guests that we should have on the show. Again, brad.l@aftconstruction.com. Email me for topics to address, guests that we should have on, and even if you think you'd be a great guest for the show. So again, thank you for all your support, and we'll see you next time.